here we go with round 1. We won the die roll, and with that many lands and a slow deck, we definitely want to play first. And then we'll see what happens. I kind of like this hand. Perfect mana, acceleration, and even some removal with the Splashed Mountain. Not going to mulligan. This hand should guarantee that we'll be seeing the mid to late game, which is where our deck wants to be. Quite a lot of lands already, a lot of mana sources in this hand, but I don't think that we mulligan this on the play. That's asking for trouble with effectively 19 mana sources, plus this. The plan here is going to be to drop the Voyaging Setter and then accelerate into Triton plus Amulet. So yeah, it's going to be a nice turn. Thinning out the deck with the Amulet is also quite interesting and something that we want to do, but not at the cost of making our deck, making our board development slower. What we could do here is sacrifice the Amulet in our upkeep. Okay, we get some nice information here. So creature or enchantment goes into our opponent's hand, which means that it's either the 2/2 lifelink Harpy. Let's see, how do I get this to display? Yeah. Okay, yeah, flying lifelink Harpy, Death Touch Scorpion, or 06 Defender. Let's see what our opponent decides to take. Looks like our opponent took the Harpy, so we can leave that here as a reminder. Now, we can use the Amulet in our upkeep, which is slightly worse if we draw a 4-drop that we would have wanted to cast. On the other hand, that's already good, so I'm not too worried about it. I think that we are getting another island here just because we can, and then we don't show our opponent that we have the mountain for the Triton. Okay, that's a spell at least. Who knows, maybe we can use this as a combo trick against the Harpy or something like that. But even if we don't, it's not the worst card to have. Another Triton, that's also quite nice. I want to show my opponent the mountain. I think that the Harpy is probably his next play. And that means we won't be forced to discard or anything. We can still drop the mountain next turn. Don't think that he should be able to win the race here. Okay, maybe no 4th land. Yeah, then it's going to be even more difficult. I'm going to use the bounty on our opponent because I don't want to mill myself. Don't think there's any reason to. Okay, Opaline Unicorn and 2 lands, and we drew our rare. We actually have the Lost in the Labyrinth for it already, so that's quite nice. Feral Invocation. This doesn't give any abilities, I believe. No. Another Harpy, that's fine. We could actually attack into the Harpy because we have Lost in a Labyrinth. And then we would have to sacrifice a Triton, costing us 4 mana. Then we could still cast Omen Speaker. Alternatively, we just drop this. Yeah, this looks better. So we can scry first and then drop the hero. Wow. I would like to put these on top. Opponent isn't drawing lands, which is really awkward for him. Now, bottom top means he found 1 land and then drew another random card. Only to concede. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, he didn't know if we had a way to target this, but he did see that we also scried 2 cards to the top. Maybe a bit premature, but understandable. Okay, yeah, that worked out really, really nicely. We might want the Raptor. Flying First Strike is great against at least 3 of the creatures we saw from him. Stimulate Hopes isn't the worst card, but that's probably about it. So let's see if we can find some cards that aren't that great. Agent of Horizons is only okay. Vaporkin is great. Yeah, I like the Raptor. Maybe it's better than the Horse, given how much flyers we saw. Yeah, let's just try that. 1 more flyer. Can't be bad if our opponent has all these Harpies. Our opponent is keeping 7 on the play, and I'm going to do the same. We have the Mountain for the Triton already. Otherwise, I don't think it would be a keeper, but I like that we already have a way to use our lands very effectively. I think this hand gives us a better shot at winning than going down to 6. Which also says a lot about the power of our deck. We have so many great draws with a starting hand like this, and only a single dead card in the entire deck. Well, assuming that we ever draw a 6th mana source for this, but if we don't, then we just draw spells that we can cast. Here we go. 1 more land. So from now on, lands are pretty much useless. We need a 2nd forest at some point, but yeah, they won't do as much. Looks like we have a battle of the mana producing cards. Opponent's is rare, but effectively it does the same job. No surprise there, we see the Harpy. I'm going to play the Mountain just because I can. I don't want to be forced to discard it because it's my only red source in the whole deck. And this time the information advantage is not nearly as important as last game. We have a great follow-up of Prescient Chimera followed by Thassa's Bounty if we want to go that route. We could also just use the Triton to kill the Harpy, but from the perspective of mana efficiency, I like just dropping our 3/4. almost looked like our opponent was thinking about the 2/2 flash enchantment, but we can't be sure about that. This also only looks good if you have the flash enchantment, really. This is interesting. Vaporkin means that we can trade with the Harpy, and we still have the Triton up for anything that our opponent might try. On the other hand, if we play the Chimera and our opponent attacks with the Harpy, then we basically know what's coming. In that case, if the Piper attacks as well, we just double block and we are fine. Except if it's another trick, but that should work out. Oh, no, that wouldn't work out. We can't double block the Piper with the Setter and the Triton, but we could double block it in another way. We could also just block it with the Chimera. Yeah, that makes more sense. Now it really depends if the Harpy attacks or not. And if we decide that it's too dangerous to block with the Chimera, we can still delay things for our next turn. At least the Piper isn't truly active at this stage. Looks like there's something big coming. Nemesis of Mortals, 5/5, and Monstrosity 5. Yeah, that's pretty good. And Vaporkins aren't going to help us. Target creature must be blocked this turn if able is also very good with the Nemesis, but we could threaten to double block it. I'm just going to start drawing cards here. I get this Scry from the Chimera, and I need a solution to the 5/5. I might also mill myself this time, but that depends on the Scry. I don't want to put too many creatures in my opponent's graveyard. But if there's an insane card on top of my deck, I'm not going to mill myself. Oh wait, this draws 3 cards first. So yeah, then I'm probably milling myself. Okay, yeah, we are keeping that. That wasn't too difficult. Now, the one problem is that we might be forced to block the Nemesis. In which case, we probably have to double block, which I don't like because now we are actively looking to get Devotion going. So let's see. We could double block losing the Chimera. And if our opponent has the Flash enchantment, then we just lose both of our creatures, which means that Thessa won't be alive to save us. So it's probably better to block with the Triton only, even though we are suffering card disadvantage, and then we drop everything next turn and hope that Thessa is good enough to get us out of this. I have a feeling that there is a Flash enchantment in our future. Otherwise, the double block would be quite bad for our opponent. almost there. So now we cast the second Vaporkin, and Thessa becomes a 5/5. Let's see what our opponent has to say about that. I'm not attacking with the Chimera because of the Flash enchantment. If I'm playing around it on my opponent's turn, I have to play around it on my turn, and if this game goes longer and I get some more blue cards, then we should be able to win this, especially with the Scry and unblockability of Thessa. So now we have to block the Harpy. Yeah, which kind of makes sense. Our opponent has to try to get us to lose the devotion. Otherwise, he isn't going to be able to compete with Thessa. Now, I'm still putting him on the aura. Anything else really doesn't make sense. We can double block. We can block with 2 Vaporkins, but that means our opponent just kills both of them with the Harpy, which I don't really want. If I block with the Chimera alone, then the aura is really bad for me. So I think my best bet is to block with the Chimera and the Vaporkin. I'm already scrying with Thessa, so I should be fine. What happens if I only block with a single Vaporkin? Then the aura comes down on the Harpy. I don't really want the Harpy to live with the aura, so I'm going to block with these 2. There's always the chance that I'm missing some other trick in the format, because I definitely don't know all of them yet. But this looks like a reasonable block. Okay, yeah, it's +2/+2 and untap, which isn't as bad as the aura would have been. But it's probably still best that we played this defensively. Now we do need to find an answer to this, but I'm hopeful that we can get there with the help of Thessa. Traveler's Amulet. No. Another island, also not the best draw, but it's fine. So we could start chump blocking this 4, 7, 8. So this can grow to a 10/10 already, which is quite scary. Yeah, we probably just have to block if we get the chance. Our opponent can always force us to block, but we're actually happy with to block with the Satyr, I believe. We have to hope that we find a double blue card here. Oh man, the Workhorse would be a lot better against this board, giving us the soldiers to block the Nemesis. Definitely putting that back in now that we've seen more of our opponent's deck. Omen Speaker. It's a blue creature, it scries. I'm gonna draw that. Okay, that's great. So land on the bottom and a double blue card on top, which means that Devotion is going to be active pretty soon. And I kind of like keeping the Raptor back. Don't think our opponent is beating us if Thessa turns on again. So I don't really want to lose my Omen Speaker if it isn't necessary. I thought that our opponent had the mana to activate this, but it looks like he didn't. This isn't a sorcery speed ability, so definitely could have done that. Yeah, I'm going to stick to my plan of preserving my life total and riding Thessa to victory. Hopefully that works out as planned. So now we actually need Thessa on defense. Oh yeah, this is also interesting. If our opponent has another trick, he can force the Chimera to block the Raptor, which then dies to said trick. But chump blocking with a Vaporkin in that situation can't be better, so I'm just going to attack with the creatures I can attack with. If that's what our opponent has, then he spends a whole turn doing that, where we have Thessa to actually go on the offensive potentially at some point. And at least this turn the Nemesis isn't going to be able to attack. So preserving Devotion here, I believe, has paid off, and also our life total. Okay, yeah, we are drawing absolutely amazing cards. Let's see. This might be the turn where a turn where we already can make Thessa unblockable. We need 4 mana to cast this, so we have 5 left. That means making the 2 Vaporkins unblockable, or the Prescient Chimera. Yeah, that's actually better, because we want to attack with the Chimera because we don't want to be forced to block the Raptor. We aren't going to lose to the Raptor though, so we can just make the 2 Vaporkins unblockable and attack with the 3 Flyers, dealing 7 and threatening lethal for next turn with the Chimera as a backup. I could attack with Thessa, but it doesn't kill our opponent this turn, and I don't think that it's going to accomplish much. I also don't think that it would lose us the game, but it's a lot safer to play it this way. If our opponent had a trick, he could have already forced the Chimera to block the Raptor, and he didn't do that, so it looks like things are working out for us. Now, even if something happens to one of our cards, we still have the Chimera. Oh yeah, now the Nemesis is growing. Bit late to the party. So if the Devotion holds, we can just block the Nemesis with Thessa, and if one of our permanents dies, then we can flash this in. And that should be it. With Thassa out, it isn't really all that difficult to close out the game. We can just make our creatures unblockable if we need to, and then that's it. Yeah, I was kind of scared for a moment here, but in the end it didn't look too dangerous. We had a great scry with the Omen Speaker, so yeah, finding another double blue card was definitely great. Okay, that was match 1 already. Looks like I don't have to wait too much, and I'll be back for round 2.